Hey, college football fans, it's Gary Green in Las Vegas. For the past 35 years, professional sports handicapper and professional sports bettor. And this is your Gary Wins videos. This is our second college football preview. And this is the early game, first of three games on Saturday. Noon kickoff Eastern Standard Time on TNT. And it's SMU traveling to take on Penn State in Happy Valley, Pennsylvania, where the game time kickoff temperature should be very cold, around 25 degrees. So far, it does not look like snow for this game, which would be nice. This is a situation right now where both teams finished 11-2, and the spread on this game is Penn State as the favorite, 8.5-point favorites. The total is 54. The two head coaches, Penn State's head coach James Franklin is just 4-5 straight up in bowl games. For SMU, their head coach Lashley, he lost both his bowl games as the head coach of SMU. He is also 0-2 against the spread. When we look at both of these offenses, they both can put points on the board. SMU averaging 37 points a game, Penn State averaging 34. As for the defensive side of the ball, SMU allows 26 points a game, and Penn State's defense, which is supposed to be called elite in college football, they still do give up 21 points per game. Now, Penn State outgains all their opponents on a week-to-week basis by a whopping 106 total yards. SMU only outgaining their opponents by 30 yards per game total yards. For the keys in this situation of this matchup, number one for SMU. SMU's run defense has been absolutely off the charts. They allow only 93 rushing yards per game and an even better 2.7 rushing yards per carry. SMU pass defense, also very good, number 30 in the country. And their pass rush is outstanding, getting to the quarterback. 40 quarterback sacks. That's why this team finished 11-2. As for the keys for Penn State, first, their two losses came against Oregon, number one in the country in the title game, where the offense actually gained 466 total yards. Problem is they gave up over 500. And then their other loss was 20-13 at home against Ohio State in a game that they were really conservative, and the quarterback just did not make any big plays. And it was what James Franklin does. He loses against every top five opponent he plays against. But you have a situation here where the defense has 33 sacks. The defense is ranked 24th in the nation, and Penn State did win 3 of their last 4 games of the regular season by 4 touchdowns or more. So when they're taking on teams that are not top 5, they beat the hell out of most of them. As far as the key matchups to watch for this game, the main one is Penn State. Their running back room, when the season started, I did a video and said this was the number one running back tandem in college football. And then when you put in the quarterback, Aller, running the ball along with them at times, tough kid, bulldozer, he'll get that extra 3-4 yards if he has to, running the ball. This was the best running back room, if you want to call it, adding the quarterback into the mix. And this is a defense, as I just mentioned. They're going to go against a very solid, stingy run defense of SMU. So who wins that matchup? I think if Penn State dominates that matchup, SMU has no chance to win the game. If Penn State goes and clicks off 180 rushing yards, there's no way SMU's winning this game. Number 2, Penn State's defense and their pass rush versus the SMU offensive line, which if you listen to all my videos and watch them and heard me over the years, offensive line play, defensive line play is the first thing I look at. I believe that that's what makes me the biggest winner almost that there is, and that's why that you can make money in gambling by looking at different aspects that no one else looks at. No one ever talks about offensive line, defensive line. The problem with the offensive line at SMU is that they didn't really have a lot of games playing against this type of pass rush. This is a really solid pass rush. Carter, one of the best defensive pass rushers in the nation for Penn State. And so the SMU offensive line is going to have to play its most perfect game of the year. I don't think they can allow more than 2 quarterback sacks, and they have to give their wide receivers who are speedy an opportunity to make plays down the field, make big plays, because I don't think they're going to grind it out down the field, 10, 12 play drives. SMU likes to hit that sideline on both sides. Big plays to their wide receivers. One little miss by a cornerback, and boom, these kids are making 50-yard plays out of 10. So that's what they need to have happen in this game if they're going to be able to pull an upset at Happy Valley. Again, I just don't know physically, if SMU's offensive line can hold up for 60 minutes against Penn State's defensive line. We will see. Now, there's a ton of star power on the field. As I just mentioned for Penn State, Carter, one of the best, I would say best 7 players in college football. This guy's going to be a big-time NFL player. So you have him, you have, again, the 2 running backs, Singleton and Allen, that I told you in the beginning of the year I placed as the number 1 running back room in the country. Then you have quarterback Alar. He is a very solid quarterback. This kid can play. Okay, now you have a team where they have a tight end, Penn State, in Warren, who may be the most valuable player on the football field in all these first college football playoff games. Okay, there's 8 teams playing. He is number 1 to me. This kid is unbelievable. He's Brock Bowers too, and he can change the game, and he has this year. And I'm very interested to see how SMU can match up with him in this game. Again, if he's going off and you have to overplay to help him, them running backs are going to start breaking some big runs in this game. As for SMU, okay, they, again, possess a ton of speed. Speed kills. Back in the day when I was a youngster, we used to talk about it all the time on my shows, even when I started betting as a young kid. Miami Hurricanes, what was their motto? Speed kills. You cannot always cover speed. It doesn't matter who your players are. Speed takes over, and especially in college football. So they're going to have to use that to their advantage, SMU, to hang in this game. But I do like the quarterback. Again, I like all the wide receivers. I like the speed aspect. Can they make enough big plays? They're going to have to make a couple of they're going to have to probably be able to be +2 in turnovers. Turnover Penn State maybe on a shorter field. Pump it in and then build onto that momentum, because if they fall behind like they did against Clemson, now they were able to come back against Clemson, but Clemson is not Penn State in Happy Valley. For the most part, you see Ohio State beat Penn State, but they scored 20 points. What would you rate? Ohio State's offense or SMU's offense? Who would you rate better? I would rate Ohio State. So obviously 21 points, that wasn't really a terrible day for Penn State. It was just their offense could not help them. When we look at this situation again of this game, the SMU run defense is great, but the pass defense did get lit up in the title game against Clemson by Cade Klubnik a couple weeks ago. And Alar passed for 226 and 3 touchdowns against the number 1 team in the country in Oregon. The line is set properly, though. Again, it's set up right for SMU to be able to have a back door. James Franklin is not a guy in these big games. He seems to go tight to the vest. He goes a little bit too conservative. Will he finally change that for this game? Maybe he will. But for the most part, coaches don't change their stripes. There's one big difference in this game, and the SMU kicker, if it becomes a close game, you can count on this kid. This kid is flat out money. I mean, this kid's got 23 field goals. 7 of them are 50-plus yards. I'll be honest with you. When I bet college football my whole entire career, when kids go out there to kick a field goal, when they're 30-yard field goals, I'm cringing a little bit. I don't give a shit who they are. College kickers shank more field goals than they make across the board. So when you see a kid that can make a 50-yard field goal this easily, that's a big deal. Now, the difference that won't help him a little bit is playing in this very frigid cold temperature. A little bit harder sometimes to kick it through the cold air, especially if there's a little breeze. But again, I can't give you that information right now when it's 2 days ahead of time. Last but not least, Penn State's head coach Franklin going against top 5 teams. Worst coach in history, 1-15 straight up. Cannot get the job done. But SMU's not a top 5 team. So he has a little bit of edge there now in this ball game. As for total players, SMU has played 8 overs and 5 unders. Penn State went over the total their last 4 games of the season. The winner of this game is going to get to go to the Fiesta Bowl to take on Boise State. That will be a nice game regardless of who wins here. Intriguing matchup once again. But again, I don't have a play right now. I'm trying to get a better wind information update for this ball game before I pull the trigger on the total. But if I knew there was going to be 0 wind, I would actually go with the over in this game. Again, Penn State's defense, they talk about how great it is, and we see a lot of sacks. But you get a lot of sacks because when you're ahead big numbers, you're able to just unleash guys with no worry about getting burned on the big play. If the game's closer, you're not going to get that many sacks like that because you're not going to be overloading to get beat by a big play that could change the whole outcome of the game. So it's a little different when you're playing really solid teams than when you're playing cupcakes and you're beating the hell out of them and you can just pin your ears back and load up and get sacks galore. So the numbers are good. I don't like to take away numbers. When you get them and you achieve them, they're there. It doesn't matter. But the bottom line is now it's two teams that are more evenly matched. It's not as quite as easy to get the big numbers that you've got against a lot of the cupcake schedule that you played earlier in the year. So great ball game to watch. That's the first one of Saturday. I'm going to do a preview on the other two, so check back. Bookmark us at Gary Wins Videos and make sure that you're able to see all our videos as soon as we load them. I hope everybody has a wonderful last weekend here before the Christmas holiday. I hope you got all your shopping done. Please, folks, just don't drink and drive out there on the holiday weekend. Play it safe, and as always, never bet what you cannot afford to lose. And hope you have a great one.